All right, so our question of the day is about scouting good properties for flip projects. And I love this question because if you look this up online, there's a ton of different recommendations and suggestions for how you can find good flips, but I'm gonna share with you a couple different strategies that you can use depending on your level of experience because as we all know, as you get more and more experience with house flipping, your strategy might change. So keeping that in mind, I'm gonna talk about two different strategies. One is the strategy I used when I was first getting started flipping houses, and that was based off price. So anytime I was looking for properties in certain areas, I was doing a search by price. So if I knew that I was looking for houses only under $100,000, that's how I was looking for specific properties. And what I would do is see what was available within that price point and then look at each of those individual houses to determine some kind of a baseline when it came to value. So obviously not every single house that you see that's priced inexpensively might be a good flip. It might be that it's a house that has a tremendous amount wrong with it. It might be a house that was subjected to a fire. It may have structural issues. It may be a house that is just obsolete. It's a tear down. It might only have value if you were to buy it and clear the property and build a new structure. It might also be a house that for its area has something that is just not favorable when it comes to selling. So it might be on a very busy road. It might be in a commercial area. It might be next to multifamily properties. And so from a single family perspective and resale value, those all are going to be things that are going to be really challenging to overcome. So there's reasons why things are priced at the way they are. So just keep that in mind that no matter what you're looking at, price is only part of the equation. It's not the absolute indicator that it's a good deal and that it's underpriced. Whereas on the other hand, you might be looking at a house that is $200,000 and you might think, gosh, it doesn't seem like it's a deal. It doesn't seem like it would be a good candidate for a flip. But if it's $200,000 in a neighborhood, right, with other homes that are selling for $400,000, jackpot, right? That's a good opportunity. So how you're going to determine pricing is going to depend on where you're looking and what your criteria is. If you are only looking in specific neighborhoods, if you know this is the neighborhood I want to work in, I don't want to work in that other neighborhood, then narrowing your neighborhood down first and then sorting by price is going to be the strategy that is going to be most helpful to educate you both from a market standpoint, but also give you an idea of what the potential is for the resale of the property. So the way you're going to do that, if you don't have a realtor that you're working with and you don't need one right away, is you can use all of the online tools that are available. So Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, any of those property sites, you can type in criteria, you can type in zip codes, you can type in cities, and you can actually sort properties by price. So that's going to be the way you're going to be able to see what areas have which pricing parameters within them. So what I like to do, I do this now, even when I'm looking at other sites, is I'll look at those sites every once in a while and I'll sort by properties and I'll sort by price. I'll do by area first, then I'll sort by price point, sorry. And then I'll map it. Because if I'm looking at a house all by itself in just a single listing and it says it's sold for $150,000, I might not think there's anything spectacular about that. If I map that property and I look and there's two other houses across the street from that house that sold for $300,000, now I'm a lot more interested in that one that sold for $150,000, right? What was it about that house that made it not a good buy for a retail buyer? Who bought it? Was there an agent involved? Has it been put back on the market? A lot of that information, again, so valuable, but you can tell when you look at these sites like Zillow, it'll tell you if a property's been sold twice. If it has in a short period of time, and I'm talking under 12 months, then you'll know that that was a flip. So another good tip I have is when you're looking at areas, trying to determine if it's a good market for you to be looking at for flips, look and see if other flippers are working in that neighborhood or other investors, right? That's a really strong indicator that there's market potential and value in that area. The other thing I'm going to talk about is looking at the area in a broader sense, because you might find a house. I just had this situation today. This is great. You might have a house that comes up that you think is a discounted price, right? And you're like, I need to go look at this property, or maybe you have an agent you're working with and they're like, yep, we should go look at it. But if you don't look at what's around it, you might actually waste your time on a showing. There are properties that are oftentimes on busy streets or maybe are subject to highway noise. So I went and looked at a property today. I did my research beforehand. I did a map and I looked at all the properties around it, and there was a flip that had sold for $650, I believe, and this house is on for $399. So again, alone by itself, a $399 house isn't necessarily a good deal. It's not necessarily a good flip candidate. But seeing that in the last 12 months, there had been another house that had been renovated and sold and was gorgeous, similar size, that sold for $650, I was like, well, maybe there's some opportunity there. But when I went and looked at the house that's on the market for $399, it's 3 houses off the service road of a highway. The other house is nowhere near the highway. It's 2 blocks north. So obviously that's going to affect the pricing, which then affects what the potential is for that to be a good renovation. But I will tell you, you guys can learn a lot without even going to look at properties by simply hitting the map function on Zillow and looking to see what's going on in the neighborhood. Are there apartment complexes or commercial residences or buildings around the houses? It'll tell you if you guys look at the maps, and that'll help you. If you can tell by the shape sometimes of the map shadow, like it'll say like there's a weird, like you'll notice it doesn't look like a traditional block. Click on that building, click on that plot, it'll tell you if it's a commercial building. It'll tell you usually if it's apartments. It'll tell you if it's a school. So those are all things you can look at online without actually having to go look at the property. So, and then also make sure you're doing this with more than one area so you kind of get an idea about what's going on. You also want to be noting what school districts you're looking at, because within a certain area, within one neighborhood, you can have multiple school districts. And those boundaries can be just one, or, they can be a matter of a block. And it could be the difference in you pricing your house $50,000 higher or $50,000 lower. I've known investors who weren't familiar with the ways school districts are zoned, and they priced their resale on their flip based off the higher school district, that more valued school district, and they ended up losing money on that project because it wasn't the school district that was for that specific home. So, something to keep in mind as you guys are scouting properties. Know that price is not the only thing you should be looking at, because price is only a function of the area, right? You can look at an area where a house is $100,000 and think it's a great deal, but the resale for most of the other properties might only be $150,000, which means there's not enough margin there for that to be a good project for you. So look at school districts, look at surrounding areas for commercial property, multifamily property, look for busy streets, look for highways, those types of things, and know that no 2 properties are ever quite exactly the same. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have questions, make sure you leave them below. Thanks so much for watching.